Hi guys, welcome back to Stumping Your Upscale Speed Shop. Today's video is going to cover sub-assemblies and primer. So let's get started on it. Okay, so now that all the parts are dry, that takes me to my next step in the process, and that is sub-assembly. I do some sub-assemblies. Things like the engine, some of the engine parts together. I'll put the seats and the seat backs together. What else? I'll take things like the rear end housing and differential, and I'll put the rear end on there. Things like that. Okay. I use several different kinds of glue during the whole building process. For this step, I use the Tamiya extra thin cement because you just dab it, and with the capillary action, it slips right in and cements the parts together that way. Just run it through. Don't need a lot. Just run it across everything. Make sure it's all squeezed together, and sometimes it's stuck together. Got it magnetized there. Use little clamps. Like so. And just hold it. So that's what I use the Tamiya extra thin for. Test fit. Test fit, test fit, test fit. Okay. Where the parts join together like this, again, I will use the extra thin. I got a bunch of these clothespins, just cheap clothespins, to do that, to hold everything together for the rest of it. So there's one set of seats. Put the lid back on it, so in case you knock it over, which is almost inevitable for me. Okay, you can also use, I have this Model Master liquid cement. All the Model Master line's been discontinued, unfortunately. Revell makes it the same stuff. I just still have some of this stuff. I don't use a lot of it. Most of what I use is this stuff here. Bob Smith Industries Instacure Plus gap filling medium, and the purple label and purple cap. There's 4 or 5 at least different types of this Bob Smith glue. This is what I use most of the time. So I'll use that on the seats here, or you can use this on the seats, or like the Tamiya extra thin, whatever you want to use. I also have regular Tamiya cement, but I don't use too much of this. What I ended up doing was I ended up making sprue goo out of this stuff. So for this one, I'm actually going to apply some of this cement. Very carefully. And slip the seat back on. Make sure it's all centered and lined up. Grab another clothespin. This takes a little bit to dry. This stuff dries almost instantly, like it says, 5 to 10 seconds. You know, within a minute you can handle stuff, do whatever, but 5 to 10 seconds. This stuff takes a little bit longer, but not terribly long. And there we have a nice fit. Back to the Model Master cement. Line it all up. Next up is the intake. And the heads. Heads are universal on this one. Doesn't matter which side's which. A good example of when it might be best to use the Instacure, because you put these parts on there within a short time, they ain't going nowhere. You see the oil pan keeps sliding around as I use pressure. But in the long run, this glue holds better, so that's what I'm using for this particular part. And the water pump. Test fit that, see where you want to put your glue. Right there, and right there. With the Instacure, you don't have a lot of time to move stuff around before it's stuck. This stuff, you got some time. So that's a sub-assembly on the engine. Up next, I will file or sand these seams. See how they look. I may need to use some putty, and I use Vallejo putty for this, if I need it, after I file it and sand it. Okay, another step here is I take the chrome pieces after I wash them all, because, you know, if you wash them, I take the chrome pieces. There's actually 2 identical air cleaners in this one, and 2 glove boxes, covers or whatnot. So not 100% sure which one I'm going to use yet, so I'm going to strip them both. But take all these pieces, carburetors, you know, stuff that you know you don't want to have chrome, and I use LA's Totally Awesome here to strip the chrome, usually overnight, 12 hours. at most 24. What is it? It's 10:45 a.m. right now. I'll put them in here. I'll check them again, like maybe 6 o'clock tonight. They're probably going to be done. I may just wait till tomorrow morning. I don't know. But I have a little Tylenol bottle that we used up that I use for smaller pieces. Just drop them in. Pretty simple steps here. Valve covers. I'm going to paint them parsley body color. Here's the gauge and radio panel. I don't want that chrome. Not on a custom car. So, and it goes. Exhaust headers. They're not going to be chrome. Center console. I'm guessing a wiper motor, whatever. Yeah, it's not going to be chrome. Drop it all in there. My only question, and I'm going to go ahead and strip it anyways, is this piece that goes in the back seat. I don't think I want that chrome. I'm not going to have a lot of chrome on this car, so I'm going to go ahead and drop that in there too. Seal the cap back on it. You know, works good because it's got that child-proof. Can't accidentally open it. So off to the side that goes. With parts like this, I take the hood off and everything. Just stick it on. I use an old bottle, pop bottle, water bottle, whatever. Fill it up with water. Just use it and holds it. Spray the underside. When it's done, pop off the tape. Wipe it off with a cloth. Pop it back on and you're ready to do the good side. Pretty simple. Dashboard, I'll take the dashboard off and do the same thing. Be very, very careful with the pedals here. Sometimes you can use very carefully your hobby knife. To cut through. And you just trim everything up. It's ready for primer paint. And as I go along, I take off the extra sprue, make sure there's no other parts on there, and just discard it. This I'll keep on here, no big deal. I usually take the door panels off. I will keep the visors on there, and I will keep the hood hinges on here because that's where it connects to the hood, so that doesn't matter if there's no paint on that. You're not going to see it anyway. That's where it connects to the underside of the hood. So what I will do though, for ease of everything, I will separate them from the rest of the sprue so I can get to it easier with the airbrush. And again, your alligator clip holds it perfectly. I have a bunch of these wires from a telephone cord and whatnot, or a cable cord, whatever. I got a bunch of these wires. Okay, and I straighten them out untwist them. I'll do a quick show here. I untwist them, and I've got a bunch of them that I've already done, so. And a lot of you guys are going to have the tool for this, crimp off the end. Like so. I'm going to bump the camera. And just pull off that insulation, and there you have copper wire. That copper wire can be used for just about anything. I use it for door locks. I use it for valve stems. Just paint. You can paint it when you have whatever done. But just have just a crap ton of this wire. So what I do, just need a small piece. Which is what I'll do. I'll just snip off a small piece here and show you what I do. A very small drill bit, thin drill bit. And I just drill from underneath, right where these parts meet, where the sides meet. Just drill straight in, because I know my bit is a little bit wider than the actual copper wire here. I use a little bit of crazy glue, a little bit of this Bob Smith glue. It says Riders on it, but it's Bob Smith Industries BSI. Just a little dab. Don't even need that much. Stick it in there. 5 or 10 seconds later, it's dried stable. See, already not moving. Once again, take my alligator clip. That's how I paint some of my smaller parts. The ones that I don't leave on the sprue. The ones where you're gonna have to trim it, or yeah, if you don't want to keep touching stuff up. Little tips and tricks. There's how I prime and paint some of these parts. Okay, so I'm getting things ready for primer now here. I'm going to start with the gray. I've already done some black primer parts. I did that yesterday real quick. So now I'm going to do some gray primer parts. Firewall, radiator shroud, stuff like that, the exhaust, and the chassis. And then over here, I got the body set up on my Tamiya paint stand here. And then the hood on a bottle. Okay, so those are going to be gray. And I have my neutral parts that I'm going to use neutral on, because I don't want them darker. And because the interior and stuff, you know, is going to be white or cream or something like that. And I don't like using white primer over white plastic, because you just can't see it, in my opinion. I can't tell what kind of coverage I'm getting. So that's just me. But I label my baggies neutral, gray, black, white, whatever I'm going to spray. I put all the parts in that baggie because I have to. I will forget, or I will spray something the wrong color or something like that. So I have to do that, because my mind just wanders and, you know, doesn't really focus sometimes. So I'm going to get the gray ready to go and get spraying and show you a little bit of gray primer going on. Okay guys, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to strain the primer into a cup. I don't think there's any clumps or anything in it yet, but this just helps ensure that I don't have any. So I just run it through the strainer into the cup. Tap it a little bit, and you can see there's a little bit. There's something there, a couple little pieces. And I'll just take this and I'll rinse it out. Okay, so I got the first coat of primer on my parts. Ready for the second coat. So please don't look at this as a lesson on how to airbrush. Because it certainly isn't. It's me faking my way through the process. I don't airbrush like most people do. There's no real right way and wrong way, whatever way you feel comfortable with. This is how I feel comfortable airbrushing. Except with, usually I don't have the phone camera in front of me though. That's throwing me off a little bit. Just a little. Back to the hood. Okay guys, so like a dork, I forgot to turn the camera on to show the rest of the priming process. So here's the parts I did in the Stynylrez neutral primer. I laid down 2 coats on each part. So here's everything in Stynylrez neutral. And here's the body in primer. I used my new Gallery GHAD-39 airbrush. It worked wonderfully. I used the .35 millimeter tip, sprayed it at about 22 psi, and I laid down 2 coats. It went down really smooth. I just did a little dry sanding on it, and it's nice and smooth and ready for paint. And after dry sanding with 1000 grit and cleaning off the body, I taped off the lower portion and sprayed on the Stynylrez white primer. I sprayed 2 coats of that on to get ready for the pearl white paint that I'll be putting on the top portion. So that's where this one will end, with all the parts primered and ready for paint. So until next time, thanks for watching Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. I'll catch you later.